Welcome to the Orbit. I'm Valtuem, and I talk all things sci-fi and fantasy. Endgame made a bold decision. It snapped away half of all life, and let Earth experience 5 years of consequences. Society collapsed, people died, and the survivors were plummeted into unprecedented hardship and depression. But at the same time, society was rebuilt, new life was born, and people adapted. When the Avengers decided to bring everyone that was snapped away back to the present, and not undo those 5 years, all of this became set in stone. Now, Endgame itself chose not to explore the ramifications of this choice, of what became known as the Blip. It didn't have the time, so it became the responsibility of MCU movies and shows set afterward to tackle it. Let's talk about the Blip for a minute. It should rock the world as much as, or more drastically than, the snap did. Over the course of 5 years, the world became accustomed to a severely decreased population. This would be reflected in all facets of life, from governance to infrastructure to food production. Suddenly, more than doubling the population would throw everything into chaos. Again. There would be food shortages, overcrowding, overburdened healthcare systems.
We're all coming back, we don't have the capacity.
Strained governance, inflation, territorial disputes, property disputes, and more. So how did the MCU address this? It didn't. As in, most movies and shows opted to just ignore it. They go on as if nothing happened. Business as usual. They also seem adamant on not confirming what year anything is set, as if they also want to ignore the time skip. Why is that? Well, the writers and directors of these movies and shows clearly had their own stories in mind. Stories that didn't take the blip, or the time skip, into account. Rather than put in the difficult work necessary to believably adapt their stories to a post-blip world, they opted to depict it as basically the same as before the snap. It's like Infinity War and Endgame never happened, at least when it comes to the world building. Falcon and the Winter Soldier evidently wanted to explore timely issues and commentary, even though the blip would radically change the socio-economic landscape to an unrecognizable degree. They said fuck it, and told the story they wanted to regardless.
I understand that!
And what the show does say about the blip isn't exactly realistic or well thought out.
I get it, but you have no idea how complicated this situation is. You know what? You're right. And that's a good thing.
Huh?
You control the banks. Shit, you can move borders.
You can feed 1 million people with a phone call.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
The show has a very childish understanding of the world. I mean, they expect us to believe Sam Wilson, an Avenger, one of the most famous persons on the planet, couldn't get a bank loan because he blipped for 5 years.
Huh?
This results in yet more world-building issues. Rather than meaningfully explore the blip, it further complicated the setting with its incompetent writing. Far From Home, WandaVision, and various other MCU shows and movies also reference the blip, though in very limited capacities. They depict people reappearing after Hulk's snap, ranging from the comedic to the dramatic. But that's kind of it. They show the blip happening, but beyond that, there's little to no acknowledgement of its consequences. In Far From Home, Peter takes a class trip to Europe, and if you weren't told this was set post-blip, you'd never know it. In WandaVision, the story has nothing to do with the blip, or the snap. The only thing from Endgame that's relevant is Vision's death. These scenes primarily serve to hand-wave away the blip. They acknowledge it so they can immediately drop it. It's superficial throwaway references, done so these movies and shows can pretend they give a damn about the world building. It's all so tiring. Rather than explore the aftermath of the blip, these examples mainly highlight the Avengers' incompetence. They failed to take into account where people were when they disappeared, potentially endangering them and those around them when bringing them back. I mean, what about the people who were snapped in planes and boats? What about people snapped in buildings that no longer exist? What about people reappearing in places now obstructed by objects or other people? Are there a bunch of individuals stuck in walls, or fused into twin-headed Cronenbergs? The Avengers also failed to inform anyone about what they were doing. They could have given world governments the chance to prepare for this sudden influx of people. And you know what? Why not give the rest of the world some say in your solution? They made this universe-changing decision without asking the people if that's actually what they wanted. If they'd done so, they might have come to a better compromise. But no, they decided to bring back everyone that was snapped away, so they didn't lose the people born in the 5-year time skip.
Bring back what we lost? I hope, yes. Keep what I found, have to, at all costs.
But what about the people that died in the post-snap societal collapse? And what about those that died trying to stop Thanos?
Fuck 'em!
I think I know why Endgame did this. The Russos wanted there to be consequences for the end of Infinity War. So despite having the power of the Infinity Stones, Hulk doesn't bring back Vision, Loki, or anyone who died in the time skip. But by committing to this decision, the Avengers wind up looking like a bunch of selfish idiots. The MCU shit the bed when it came to the blip, and even the snap. The 5 years of despair and the abrupt more than doubling of the population should have completely and meaningfully transformed the world of the MCU, yet it had almost no effect. The Russos were kind of dicks, completely changing the landscape of the MCU, then bouncing.
I go now. Bye-bye.
To let everyone else figure out how the hell they were gonna write that. A difficult but not impossible undertaking. It just meant future directors and writers needed to work hard to build out a realistic and consistent post-blip world. But they didn't, and decided to take the lazy way out. The Infinity Saga should have been succeeded by the post-blip saga. But alas, instead we got a multiverse that makes no fucking sense. But that's a topic for another video. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos in the same vein. If you're interested in more MCU content, see my video on Deadpool and Wolverine, or check out my main channel for detailed Hulk analyses. I'll see you on the orbit.